Welcome everyone to the RWBYMoments podcast, and today you will be dealing with me and a very special guest. And I do apologize; it would just be me this time. Today on this podcast, we have Santa Freeman with us.
Hello.
So we will start to get to know you a little more with this first question being: how did you start with RT and Ruby? What do you do for them?
So I actually started in early 2016 as a freelance artist on RWBYMoments doing concept art, and then a lot later I got hired on full time as a concept artist, starting with Ruby 4, and then since then I've mostly done concept and matte painting with
I see.
occasional side things. Yep.
So, which volume did you start on then? Well, 2016 was around, I believe that was
Volume
volume
4.
4.
Yeah.
Okay, so as the Monty era was ending.
Yeah, basically.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, the next question is, where were you before Roosterteeth? Like, what were you doing, etc. Examples. This is tied into the fan question of from a guy called Xander Hannes. How long have you been doing? Okay, apologies. How long have you been doing with your art skills? So,
I've been
uh,
doing it for a while. Like pretty much since I was like a child, like most artists have. I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, and majored in sequential art with a minor in game design and concept art. And after I graduated college, I wasn't doing super great. Like I did a lot of freelance, like a lot of freelance pixel art. I did art for like a furry game. Actually, I did
really?
some.
A
Yeah,
furry
I
game?
did. Um, I did children's books actually, a theme park one time, like a lot of random stuff until finally I got my Roosterteeth job.
Interesting. That is an interesting. You could have an interesting portfolio. I
Yeah.
probably butchered that word. So, okay. So, how has it been working for something as a phenomenon as Ruby?
It's been really fun, mostly because like if you do look at my portfolio, which I mean is obviously full of Ruby crap now, but even before that, it was filled with like a bunch of like colorful fantasy stuff, and that's what Ruby is. And I do like all the fan interaction with like that's something with Ruby has, and how the community, as much as other fans complain about each other, I kind of appreciate it more. Like I love League, but I look at like the social media replies on League posts, and I'm like scared of them, you know. So it's been good. It's
In-
been good.
Interesting. Just a small bit of that. Interesting. What is your opinion on kind of the more vocal majority of the fan base that are very kind of against a lot of like the other community, like the part of the other parts of the community, like the very vocal ones that just go out of their way to attack people that don't agree with them. I actually have it's a curiosity. What's your honest opinion of them?
I typically kind of stay out of it just because I do think that fandom should kind of police itself. Does that make any sense? Like I
No,
don't.
yeah, I
Yeah.
get that. I get that. Like, it does make sense that a community like what the series or game or whatever is based on, they don't have like the need. They don't need to police their own community. They just want the community to be a welcoming environment.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't necessarily think the company has a big place in that. This is just
No.
my opinion, obviously, because I think it's up to the community to decide what's acceptable for them and what's not. And I'm just kind of like, don't be an asshole, but I'll leave you little nerds to it. you know.
Oh, you're asking a bit much from this community, though. You are asking a bit much.
I mean, is it as bad as like Star Wars? I'm sorry, Star Wars fans, but y'all know what I'm talking about.
That is a fair comparison. I'll give
Yeah.
you that. That's a fair comparison. I'll give you that. Okay, on to the next question. So, you've been working for Ruby for a long time, so you must be aware of the safety rules and regulations. So, why are there no handrails in the center location in Volume 8?
I take offense to this because I'm the one telling people I'm adding safety rails to my shit. You can actually see it in like the snowshoe facility. I put like safety cages on the ladders. And the directors were like, "Why?" I'm like, "Safety." But I mean, literally the reason you'll see this in a lot of media is we needed to be able to easily push people off the platform.
That is a
Basically, and also they didn't want like rails to like block shots, so That's literally the reason that most other things like Star Wars won't have handrails.
So let me get this clear. This entire thing of just was just because they wanted to make it easier so they could like quote unquote murder off a character if
Yeah,
needed.
yeah. I mean, you see that in Star Wars too. Like in the first Star Wars, there's no handrail, so they can easily push Luke off the bridge. But like in the new trilogy, they actually have to like lift Han Solo over the rails, which they couldn't do at the time. I mean, because there's a lot of. I would actually look into the making of the original Star Wars if you have it. It's actually quite interesting.
Well,
So
maybe. Well,
yeah,
there you go. There you go, Ruby fans and any other fans that are watching. Recommendation from Santa.
yeah.
So that's it. And also, that is interesting. You are actually you put in safety precautions in
I
other places.
have, yeah, like, look in the background, I add rails and I add safety cages.
That is really funny, to say the least.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question we have is there has been so yeah, so the thing, the handlebars have been a bit of a meme for in uh our server and our like our group for a
Mhm.
while. 'Ca- Especially when particularly especially when the plot doesn't need them, which
Yeah.
is now explained why. So we're gonna take a look at some concept art you have of course made and a fan question from Captain Rusty. You made some incredible designs such as the new Grim, the Tempest. So his question is, were there any Grim designs or names that were turned down or were there at first tries? I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's group designs that are turned down all the time. Like, I recently, if you check out my portfolio now in the characters creatures sections, you can actually, see a lot of what the original explorations for the Grim were. I would say rarely is the first rough taken. It's often like a lot of iterations, and then they pick their favorite. Then we do the turnaround.
I
As for
see.
as for names, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, cause like Carrie and Eddie and stuff will just have the name there. I don't know if they went through a process of like 50 million names, so that'd be them. But when they come to us, they pretty much have the name already. So
Very interesting. Very, looking at these designs, I don't know. I don't think the fans are gonna be able to see this, but look at the designs. They are very nice. Would another recommendation to go look at these.
thank you.
Okay, on to the next one. We have you've been posting something okay, I'll be honest, I don't really know about this myself, but you've been apparently posting a lot of delicious looking food on your Twitter. Are those con are those content that didn't make it in or did they
Oh yeah,
or
I think they're
some of
talking
them
about
made it?
this food right here, which is my ArtStation collaboration. I mean, not
I
collaboration, collection of the food I posted on Twitter.
I
Um,
see.
yeah, this was during a time between Genlock and Ruby 7 before we had the scripts. We had like an outline, and the outline only said there was going to be like a banquet. And so I was just like, I'll just bake food that will go on tables. And I did that for a little bit. So this food didn't make it in because when the script was finalized, they just wanted food that was on trays. So no, these are just technically canon foods because they were approved to be in the world, but like they didn't make it into the show. So
Very very fun.
yeah.
That is now I have context what the hell that was because okay, must oh motherfucker. Okay, so I'm not I'm gonna move on to the next one because I'm
Mhm.
just checking something. Velvet, I will get back. I will speak to you about this because I didn't register this. Up next, we have a question from Kina. How many different references, mythical or not, are used when creating a character or grim in your eyes?
Oh, like tons and tons of references because like the Grimm, like ultimately at their base level, they are just like a demonified real animal, right? But like you also want to look at like how other media stylizes animals because it's quite useful. Like I know this sounds weird, but I also look a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh because their creature design can get so strange and I'm kind of fascinated by it. But then also looking a lot at like Monster Hunter and a lot at like WoW. Yeah,
Interesting.
tons. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting to mention a few of those things, particularly Monster Hunter thing, due to how much they actually the creators of Monster Hunter actually put a lot of thought on how their creatures would exist in like
Yeah.
the universe and how and like every small bit about them is stated.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh though is much fun because that's just more fantastical
Oh
creatures
yeah,
for the
they're
sake of it.
super insane. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Dragons.
Agree. Also, big fan actually myself. I do play Yu, not real life,
Yeah.
but not real life, but a big fan of that. I actually play both of them. Wow, not really my own thing. I don't
Yeah.
really get into those games, but very interesting, very interesting. Just thing is about just thinking about that the characters when because it was mentioned in that question. Do you normally work with characters that often, or
No,
mostly no?
very rarely. I would say my main claim to character is I designed Chase in the tank in Genlock because I really wanted to. Otherwise, the characters I've designed have mostly been in like the far background. Like I rarely did characters. We had a lot of good character designers on the team already, so we
Oh
didn't
boy.
like really need me. You
Looking at the
know?
portfolio, your portfolio, you were the one who created the Hound's human body. Is that true?
No, that was
Actually, no.
Larissa Angus.
You just helped finalize it.
No, Larissa actually did all of the Hound.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder
Yeah.
why. Why did you place it on the portfolio? Your portfolio. I'm saying this wrong
Oh, that's
completely. I
not in my
apologize.
portfolio. Is it?
It is. I think you did. Yeah, no, character and creatures. I noticed the hound in there. That's why I was asking.
Oh no. That's Larissa.
Oh, I see. So, oh no, apologies. That is Genlock. I mixed it up. I
Oh
do
yeah.
apologize.
Oh,
That is
yeah.
my fault. Apologies, everyone. Okay, the next question is from a bloody Roselia. For those who are creating artwork for their own original Grim, what are some good ground rules to keep in mind in the design?
So I'm assuming this question is in the context of like I want to make my own fangrim be like following the canon rules. I'm assuming. So I'm gonna
That
answer
would
it. Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
the context, yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer it in that way. I would say mostly the hardest and tightest rules are the colors. Like, early Grim, like I would say, like I know this sounds like kind of crazy, but like the rules were really established for colors in Volume 7, and since then, all Grim kind of follow those. And actually, Grim from previous volumes that didn't match for when they were reintroduced to the show again, they were actually updated to have the colors matching. I would say if you look up the concept for like the Grim Ursa, like the new one, or the new Beowulf, those colors are pretty tightly followed. Otherwise, it's kind of go nuts because I mean there are some general rules to follow, but they've also been broken before. Like, obviously there's like a lot of bone plating, you like emphasis on the head, but then like the monster has no eyes and neither does like the seer or the tempest, you know. um Generally,
The
yeah.
creature, the last two don't really, the creatures they're based on don't really have eyes either.
Yeah,
So I don't know where would you put them if you did.
yeah. Generally the red markings are only on the bone plating, but then sometimes they're not only on the bone plating. So yeah, I think those are the rules pretty much. Otherwise it's kind of like go nuts.
Small thing that I want to add on to this question. What about Grim that have like extra abilities that aren't really part of the biology, like particularly like fire, like fireballs or similar like breath attacks? What are the rule, or like would a Grim be able to have like a poison kind of?
Oh yeah, they did have a poison. The centaurian, I
So
forget
that's
what's
actually
that.
acid. That was not
Ye-
poison.
oh
That
yeah.
was
Um, those that's the crazy thing too. Is those colors can be different depending on what the concept wants to get across. You know, so like it depends. I know that's like a bad answer, but
depends.
yeah,
So my preference of what I'd like doing when I'm making Grim is I don't really like giving Grim like very unique abilities unless they're kind of considered like more rare, like
yeah.
much more like I from all the Grim that we've seen now is kind of breath attacks. They're the most common Grim, Sphinx, well of course Leviathan, or as the community has nicknamed the
Mm,
Bubbles the
yeah.
Leviathan, the correct name to give him. Like all
Yes.
those larger Grim have seemed to have more unique abilities. Well, other like the Seer is a unique grim. It's not the most common grim. I don't even know seers or can be in the wild. Can they?
Oh, I actually have no idea either. That's an
Ooh,
interesting question. I wonder if like okay, this is me in headcanon territory because I never asked Carrie or Eddie or Miles about this. Of like, did Salem like make them by herself,
that is
or
the good
did she
question.
control them?
That would be an interesting question if we can
Yeah,
get any if we can get any of them on the podcast, but I doubt.
Mhm.
They're busy people. They are indeed
They
busy people.
are.
Well, let's move on to the next question. So when you're creating the concepts for the Grim thus far, the Lansters, Monster, Tempest, talk us through the process of how you came up with them. Like, what were you given? Were you given anything to work with? Like any meetings over designs, like stuff like that. References to one outline.
Oh yeah, so normally we obviously we at least get like a brief from the director of the episode. So it'll start with writing, but then you'll have episode directors like Dustin and Paula and Connor and stuff like that who have they normally take over like the first appearance of the Grim, if that makes sense. And depending on the director, there will be like they'll have like little thumbnails or references, but I would say out of all the concepts in this show, the Grimm are the most nebulous in that, like, normally with a character, you still start with like a base, and then design off that base. But with the Grimm, you go like way back and do like very rough sketches and even thumbnails to begin with, which isn't super common just because like normally you kind of know what you're making, but with Grimm it can kind of get a little crazy. Sometimes we have storyboards already done of what they want the Grim to do. Like, so you have to design this Grim, but it has to be able to like punch in this specific manner. So you have that extra information to do that with. And other times the storyboards wait on what they have. I think that's kind of it. And then after that, it's just making like the clean turnaround for modeling.
Interesting. Like, well, that is the difference of in comparison. Character does require much more in comparison to a Grim due to, actively going to have a personality mostly
Yeah,
than a Grim.
yeah,
So it does make sense, yeah, like it is more. And also the inspiration things. Most Grim have a very simple inspiration and they don't it's just the creature it's based on can be
yeah,
that's kind of the limit. Or a character can be met like whatever the inspiration can do a lot with that.
yeah.
So that is a very interesting answer to say the least. So I do not mind. You are the boss.
Nah, not really. I mean, it kind of depends on the Grim, I would say, but like when you see them cut, you don't see like a bone. They're made of like the Grim stuff. I don't know if there's an actual term for it.
I just call it tar to be honest, because it looks like tar.
Yeah, yeah. I called it goo.
Uh,
Yeah, it's goo.
everyone has their own name because it's never been it's just the grim stuff. That's
But yeah. Yeah, it's that's more like just the material they're made of. I mean, like again, there are notable exceptions. Like the Monstra obviously has like a giant skeleton inside, but like I would say the Beowulf doesn't really because like they're not really animals, right? They're like manifestations of like
destruction.
destruction. Yeah, so
Well, they come from the pool of destruction, so
yeah,
just how
yeah, 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 yeah.
uh imagine if they did, they'll probably destroy everybody. They're big boys. They're very dangerous. They're an ape, they're not a
Yeah,
monkey.
but he was busy getting beat up by Ironwood, so you know. Yeah,
He
for sure. Actually, oh, I will say actually one fun fact is I rarely design characters, However, I did design all the beat up versions of Oscar in Volume
You
8. That
no,
was
no.
my only character assignment in Volume 8 was beat up Oscar.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is really funny. That is
I
really
believe
good.
my coworker described it as "destroy the boy."
It's destroyed. I think I, well, okay. Do I have to mention that now? Are you? I have a dislike of anyone that's like a teenager or below. They're obnoxious. I wish to punt them to the stratosphere, but that is illegal, so I can't do that. I don't. They're obnoxious. I hate them. Can But yeah, let's move on from the next question. Yeah, I am perfectly fine. That was a fun question though you posed. Okay, so next one is okay. Was it the same when it came to concepts for the environment and settings used in Ruby? This is going out from the last question about concepts in general.
Uh, yes. And also again, it's kind of like differences with environments. I would say it varies a lot more wildly than Grim, just because some environments have very clear references because they'll basically say like this building that you're having to design is literally attached to this other building that's already designed, so that already gives you like a clear pathway to making that concept. But then others like I would say the final fight area central location you called it in 8, like that was kind of like totally off the wall there. I don't think there were any references for that when Weston actually did the roughs for that concept. And I think he just started thumbing stuff out. And but then others have very more plot specific things they must follow. Like the Shallow Sea, I think, was one of the ones that had probably the most like quote unquote lore established before I designed it. So the answer is it depends, but I would say the process is a lot different just because on a show like Ruby, it obviously doesn't have like the highest budget, so you don't have like infinite amount of time to just keep doing iterations of environments. So
Yes.
normally after we get like the basic idea, we jump into building the block out in 3D and then showing that to directors and being like, does this do everything you need it to do? Like, we'll do like really simple renders of like shots they specifically want and say, so is this working for you? And they'll be like, yeah. And then we'll like slowly build up the 3D to be a bit more um finished looking, and so they get a better idea of it. And then after that we push it to final and hand off our crappy concept model to boards and modeling to finalize.
I also just realized I'm an idiot.
Oh, why?
I unmuted in Discord, didn't unmute in OBS.
Oh
So
no.
that whole previous section is going to feel strange to people because I'm an idiot. I forgot I muted myself in OBS as well.
Oh my god. Are you unmuted now?
Yeah, I'm unmuting now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put text on screen and go back and put text screen on that. That's gonna be fun to find that section. I am a bloody idiot. I forgot I muted myself in OBS because I wasn't here for a good 5 minutes.
Can you like put yourself on text to speech during that part?
Please do that. That would be amazing. Please put yourself on text machine. That would be great.
If I can, I will, but I don't think I'll be able to do that because I'd have to dissect the video, I think. So.
Yeah.
Well then, everyone. You're the host, the main person of the channel.
I swear we are professionals when it comes to this. I swear. It's just a case of I am an idiot.
Do not believe it lies. Do not believe it lies.
I had to run somewhere and take care of something. I come back, I hear the question, I think I've got an interesting add-on to that. I unmute in Discord, didn't realise I was muted in OBS until I look at it and just go quiet for a minute, look at it and go, well, fuck. Oh my
Going
god.
back to that, I do like bringing up the budget because I'm very aware of shows and budgets. Well, let's get on to the next one then. Do you use any real life or real world references with your work? I
Oh
believe you did
yeah,
answer this earlier, but would you like
yeah,
to
like
elaborate more on it?
oh
Any
yeah,
particular
like all the
ones?
time. In particular for environments, because like I just like to learn, and obviously it's like a high fantasy show, but it's kind of like when you come to stuff like I need to design like a base in the middle of the snow, but then you want to do research and be like, what particular about actual Arctic bases makes them feel like Arctic bases, right? Because I do think it's a pitfall of a lot of God, I don't want to sound rude, but like amateur concept artists, how they're like, well, I want to design like a fantasy tent, and then they immediately go to like World of Warcraft or someone who's already designed tents and the design off of them without really like thinking what makes their like tent in the woodlands feel like a tent in the woodlands, you know what I mean? They're just kind of following what another concept artist already did. So I think it is extremely important to like look and do your research and figure out like what makes things feel a certain way, and like what little subtle cues that aren't too subtle but like enough to get your intent across. So yeah, look like constantly all the time, like, you know.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Hmm. Well, speaking of concepts, we have a question from Didza. I do apologize. Didsva. I apologize if I got your name wrong. So, in your concept for Ruby Volume 8 Burger Restaurant, it is placed in the chat for you just to look at it again. Do you have any a story behind the two women in the background picture? Because why did you put them there?
Oh, I did. And actually, it's a dude and a girl. But they can be two women if the fans want. Like, basically, if you look at the concept, which Velvet put in the chat, on the left, there's a guy who's a miner, and my plot was for them that, um, like the guy was a minor, and then his girlfriend was starting a restaurant in Mantle, but like was kind of facing discrimination for like customer base and funding and stuff because she was a faunus, and then he
What
got into like
what trait was her, by the way? So just curious.
oh yeah, you can't see it in the concept. She has
Yes,
lynx ears.
Lynx.
um
Oh, interesting.
yeah,
I
and
don't, I don't, I don't think that one is seen a lot in the community, so that's nice.
yeah, and then he got into a mining accident, but was able to get enough funding before that to help run the restaurant. So there you go.
Ah,
Was that the same mining accident that killed Ilya's parents?
are they that old?
I don't know. Could
Okay,
be.
that
I
these are
didn't think
some.
that far.
Did not think that. Hey, that's it. Well, I would say I doubt it, being how it seems how Atlas treats everyone. I imagine mining accents are actually pretty common here.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's not like any other stories behind like the concepts. Like you think of stories when you're making the concept. Like, is there any interesting stories that you come
Oh,
up with?
constantly, all the time. I can't remember any off the top of my head because again, I don't mostly design characters. There is actually one interesting one in Pietro's office, I guess, which was one that Carrie actually came up with. That I guess I think I can tell this because I said it in the show where like Pietro is like, I wanted to design shoes that help you dance or something, but like in the concept, Carrie specifically requested that there's like scuff marks on a part of the floor, so that's where his like failed dancing was until he got it right. Like, there's like a lot of little stuff like that.
It's the little
Interesting.
details.
Yeah.
I love little details in
Yeah.
animation and that. Like seeing it with like Ice Queendom's first chapter when the official one came out, noticing the little difference between that and like the premiere, and seeing those little differences and those little changes. I'm always looking for like the little details in the background throughout RWBY, and it's like a Where's Wally or a treasure hunt to see if you can see any interesting details.
Where's Waldo? Who calls it Where's Wally? What the fuck?
I couldn't think of the name.
You no. You must be shamed. It's Where's Waldo. Everyone knows that.
I forgot the name. My brain is not working properly today.
I can tell. I think all the audience can tell. Well, on the next question, are there any interesting concepts that never made it into any of the volumes that you can talk about?
No, not allowed.
Uh,
Because sometimes they like aren't necessarily completely cut; they're just pushed farther out. So
Oh,
oftentimes it's a spoiler.
I
Yeah,
see.
so not allowed.
will you be allowed when you're not working with the RT? Will you be able to drop everything when you're not working for RT in that? Just like, slide that out there inconspicuously?
Yeah, if I want to get super duper sued.
It is still owned a lot. I imagine a lot of the RT stuff, like a lot of the Ruby stuff you make, is like owned by RT. If I
Yeah, it is. So,
okay, so I'm just curious, how much of your work is actually like? Is there any of your work for Ruby that isn't owned by RT currently? Is there anything you've made that just is yours full on?
I mean, yeah, because I've done my own fan art and shit of Ruby. I haven't done. Well, yeah, I did the. Okay, this is so long ago, but like I did like dumb fan art. Like here's my Land of the Lustrous Ruby crossover fan art.
Land of the Lustrous? What is that? Why does that sound familiar?
It's anime
Oh,
Steven Universe.
yes, I
Yeah.
do remember it.
Never heard of it.
Yes. Technically? Oh,
It's
I like it.
it's about sentient crystal people. Like
Yeah.
to
Now it's
fight
like
these
Emerald.
weird moon aliens or whatever they are.
I wonder,
It's very strange. I really like it.
I wonder how many people that are watching this are going to get that. Let us know in the comments if you actually know Land of the Illustrious.
Goes yeah, it goes fucking hard near the end. Some people
Yeah.
goes hard in the I
And
know
it recently started its serialization again, so I've been excited.
yeah, though sadly there's only one anime season of it, though being how
Yeah.
high quality everything looks, and it's also interesting side thing. For being a 3D animation anime, it doesn't look terrible.
Oh,
Like
I actually think it's gorgeous. Like it's weird because I actually think the 3D fits Land of the Lustrous extremely well because like part of the lore of the world is that the characters are essentially like skeletons kind of like they represent like the bone basically and like their hair is also meant to be like stiff, it's not meant to be flowing like real hair. So I actually think it works extremely well for that story in particular.
I'm just comparing it out to the Berserk remake they tried to make
Oh,
like around the same
yeah.
time about like
Yeah.
3D animes going from you either do Berserk or you do Land of the Lustrous. Do Land of the Lustrous.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, or
like
like
the only issue with doing that one is the budget because holy shit that is
yeah.
so it is very pretty. It is
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
pretty.
Yeah, that's the
The,
only thing is like often very high quality CG is actually more expensive than 2D.
this is why
So,
Trigger is the best one. They make all the
yeah.
best looking shit.
Our Orange, I love Orange. Beastars and Land of the Luscious people. Look at that, they're good.
Ooh, they are yeah, B-stars.
Hmm.
But let's continue
Yeah,
our
let's continue. No more Studio Orange.
yeah. Okay, any concepts that you can tease for volume 9? I'm gonna say I'm probably gonna be a no on that.
No. The only
Yeah, I
thing I
know.
will tease for Volume 9, this is my non-spoiler teasing, is so I liked it a lot more, doing it a lot more, I mean, than 7 and 8, because I did like 7 and 8, but like obviously a lot of the colors are like muted and primarily blue
Uh,
and dark.
you enjoyed
Whereas
how chaotic it was.
yeah, 9 is very colorful and very crazy, so I had a lot of fun with making 9, but that's my non-spoiler tease for
Okay,
9.
I have a small question. In the teaser we saw, is there any of the active characters you had worked on? Like
Active
the
character?
knight or the masked horned creep person? Did you work?
No, both
That was
the knight was designed by Aaron Wynn, and
ooh,
the horned creature was designed by Larissa Angus. If you want to look it up,
interesting.
I'm
So
guessing
you
that
mostly did all the environmental toys.
yeah,
I'm guessing that the big whipped cream and big cherry that we see in the group shot Team Ruby, that's going to be done by you. I'm guessing the massive pile of whipped cream.
yeah, yeah. Yes, that was me actually. I like doing the food.
The
Yeah,
food is one of the
I think,
underrated things.
yeah, I love doing food.
well then, you just a food person? You enjoy a good meal then?
Weirdly, no. I just like
Oh,
designing food. Like one of my favorite part of like Miyazaki films is how they make all the food look delicious, even though I wouldn't like it IRL. You know?
oh. Welcome to my entire existence then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bionic ears,
Yeah,
one for not eating.
I did skip a thing because you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't important. You dickhead.
I will always
Well,
throw you under the
good.
bus when, you know. I am
I'm
honestly,
throwing you under the bus today.
I am looking forward to seeing what you bring to the table for Volume 9, because, if I'm not mistaken, Volume 9 is your last one, or is that Volume 10? Because I know you're leaving.
It was actually the Justice League crossover. That's the last thing I worked on.
Ah.
Is that it? No. So no volume 10 to 12 then, or any of the extras?
No, I didn't work on 10 to 12.
Ah.
I see.
Yeah.
That's really sad. I do really enjoy your work.
And we can't get any teasers for the RWBY Justice League crossover from her yet. We can't squeeze her for that information yet.
I wouldn't only have RT on me, I'd also have Warner on me.
Well, I'm just happy it isn't based on the comics.
Yeah.
They were bad. Because they were bad, like, seriously. Like, thank God this is, like, it's the same concept, but doing something different. Thank God, those comics are bad. And anyone who says they weren't, you're objectively wrong. Be quiet. I'm not arguing this question. You're just wrong. I will fight all of you, but I also don't want to, because it's boring as fuck to fight you people. But,
Opinions.
moving on. I have confidence, but I also don't want to fight people, because I lose if it was a physical fight. So,
Same, though.
if you could go back and redo any concept, what would you change or improve upon?
I was like thinking about this question. I would say a lot of my older concepts from 4 and 5, like I was obviously still learning, and there's a lot of my older concepts I feel like the spaces feel like a lot more empty. I would definitely go back and probably propose shrinking some of those rooms and then filling up the shelves like more, just so the rooms don't feel so like barren, you know what I mean? But also back then, the process was a lot different with doing more isometric concepts, which it's fine, but I think the art director on Genlock, he said like it's not a great idea to do this most of the time, because if you only do your environments in isometric, you're designing for a view you're never actually going to look at the room with, you know. So if you're zooming so far out, you're like, oh my god, this room is so busy, but then every room you're like zooming way far in, you know? Then you're not getting like a clear view of how busy the room should be in order to have the correct amount of noise in a shot. So
I do notice a lot of your environment. You add these small little extra points in everything
yeah.
just to make it feel more lively, like
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
has
yeah.
actually do live or work
Yeah.
in this room.
Yeah.
So that is very interesting. Okay,
I think that's like one
the next
beneficial
one is
thing.
we've done a lot of. Oh, okay.
Yeah, with like filling up the environments, like making an area feel like it's lived in and that. It doesn't feel so bare bones, and you can like have your characters interact with like the area around them and that. We have like you see certain moments in RWBY where they're doing certain things in these areas and not just standing around and talking, where it's just basically them static.
Velvet.
Yep.
No, but it is also a good way of like establishing a character trait, because if we can look at Pietro's one, you can look around at how messy it is and how thing, but also there's a trash can with a lot of it seems to be ideas.
Yeah. So
it shows he's always working, and that is a small thing, but it is adds a bit to a character. That's a good.
A room can tell a person's room.
Very good at that.
A person's room can tell a lot about someone's personality at the end of the day. Like a bedroom can tell a lot about that person who sleeps in that bedroom. It's the same with like when you're writing stories as well as animation. You have two different sides. One you're showing, but the other you're having to tell with. And with the story, like writing a story, you have to build up the scenery and that, build up the area and that. And with animation, I think it's a little bit easier, because you got the concepts there to work with and animation techniques, etc.
It's also very interesting to compare Pietro, like how you have designed Pietro's room and the server room, of how like messy and like kind of disorganized Pietro is, and then how pristine and like organized Al is.
Yeah.
Very interesting dichotomy you've made that.
Thank you.
No problem. But on to the next question. It is you've done a lot of amazing Ruby concerts, but you've also worked on Genlock. Can you tell us a bit about that experience?
Oh yeah, that was like a lot different because Genlock, higher budget, absolutely, and also, unlike a lot of Rooster Teeth projects, they hired like a lot of outside talent. So I would say honestly, like Genlock is probably the project I learned the most from. Because we got this art director named Michael Pedro who really helped me out a lot, but it's also where I met like a lot of people cuz like when I first got hired on the concept team, it was Patrick Rodriguez who had been in Rooster Teeth forever. It was Aaron Wynn who had been at Rooster Teeth for about a year or two, and then it was me starting out. And so it was pretty much just like two newbies and one with Rooster Teeth experience. So it was really interesting to have people come in and they're like, well, I worked on Doom. Well, I worked on like God, Doctor Strange. Like had all these like really crazy talented people with like a lot of
Uh, Doctor Strange, like the first one.
yeah, yeah,
God,
that'd
that
be
movie does goes fucking odd. Same with, and one person worked on the Doom remakes.
yeah, that'd be Michael Pedro. The Doctor Strange kid is David Tilton, and I call him a kid because when we hired him, he was like 20. Like it
Duh.
was just yeah, it was a lot of people with like just so many different ranges of experiences, and I feel like I learned like a ton from working on Genlog. So
Well, there's at
yeah.
least somebody got something out of that show. I'm not insulting anyone who worked on it, but
Mm.
I'm not the biggest fan of Genlock
It's
personally as like a show itself.
it's as I always say, every day is
But
another lesson learned. You can learn new things, even if you think you're experienced. You can always pick up new skills, new experiences, new talents from working around people that are a lot younger than you or a lot older than you. You can pick up different areas in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So people at home,
Yeah.
don't doubt your talents. There's always people out there that will help you, even if you think that you're professional enough or experienced enough. Trust me, I do the same.
you are
No,
targeting.
totally.
I know who
Yeah.
exact you are targeting that. I know exactly who you're targeting. Is you are doing that on purpose. I could tell. Like I know, like yeah, like he means well, everyone. But he is targeting a very particular person. But everyone can take this message at home. But he is. You kind of let. I'm not letting it escape, Velvet. Not letting it.
Yeah. Hi, Ghost.
Yeah, it's our boy
Hello.
Ghost. Everyone,
It's our boy. I've been
I was
teaching
gonna
him.
say it. You've been teaching everybody except me mostly. I just get you to help me.
Yeah, you're not a story writer. You're just like you have problems with
I'm
outfits
not.
and that. So
Okay, it's. I'm not a fancy person. I don't.
Fashion disaster.
I'm gonna be on the fact that I wear shorts and t-shirts. Why do you people try to dress fancy? I don't get you people. Like, it looks uncomfortable as hell.
Oh,
Why?
it is. Oh, it is.
Like, what? Then why do you suffer then? Why do you choose to
Because
suffer?
I want to wear a cute cosplay and be Callie.
oh yeah, because you did cosplay as
Oh
Callie
yeah, I
at
saw that on Twitter.
RPX.
How dare you call Godzilla? How dare you call Godzilla Jurassic Park? I will. I saw that.
I
Both those
recently,
ugly.
I recently saw Jurassic World Dominions. That was on my brain.
How dare you insult the king? You have
I
no clue.
think he would get along
That
with Rexy. Why not?
yeah, Rex would die and would be dead.
No, I think they
Everything
would
in
get
Jurassic
along.
Park.
I bet they'd play Fortnite together.
If you speak Fortnite one more time, I'm gonna be so fucking. If they
What's worse, Fortnite or League of Legends?
Fortnite, because children
Okay,
play it.
okay, I'm not as bad then because I'm a League player.
Like League has a different problems, but like my big thing is Fortnite is children, and children objectively always work. Okay, it is okay. I would take that back, but I'm not going to tell who is worse because I feel like most people can figure out who's worse than that. Okay, next question. But I am still mad. I'm going to be mad about the phrase. Do not diss the grandfather of Toku. You don't do that in my presence. But next one is, how did you overcome roadblocks or hurdles when working on designs?
I this will sound like a non-answer, but like when this happens, I constantly bring out that meme of Shia LaBeouf or Shia LaBeouf saying "just do it." Because like here's the thing, on your personal work you can kind of like take forever if you want to because it's just on your own schedule, but when like you're in a professional setting and you're getting paid by the hour, you kind of just gotta go. So like even if you're not particularly inspired, you just start getting something down on the paper, and then you'll probably look at it and then be like, "Oh, I can improve this and this on that," and then that'll start to build up what your eventual final concept will be. So
So
my suggestion, just do it.
so you never really feel about like that block most of the time. You don't really experience that like some people do.
Oh, I absolutely do.
Oh,
It's just you can't
your
afford to like sit there and do
your
nothing. So,
your
you know.
method is interesting. Is that just clip playing in your brain every time you feel an right like blocked like a
Oh,
block?
100%. It's like if I have to just say design, like Carrie's like, you gotta design a fish restaurant, and I'll be like, I don't I have no ideas for this. And then so I
Right.
just literally just look up a fish restaurant and like start building that, and then I'm like, how would I change this? And then I start tweaking it, and then it becomes the Ruby fish restaurant. You know what I mean? Like,
I think we need to replace that
So
Shia LaBeouf meme and just put Eddie in there now. Like, Eddie is a better pick.
yeah,
Because Eddie will
yeah,
scare people into
yeah.
actually doing it. Mr. Teeth will actually scare people into doing it.
Mr. P. Yeah, that literally is like he's every picture of him is just smiling ear to ear. He's enjoying his life.
He's enjoying his time. Is he a
Okay,
fun guy to work with, though, Sana? Like, him and Kerry, like,
good
how...
question. Like, yeah, like actually, let me.
I wish I could work with Eddie more because Eddie isn't a director; he's the supervising writer. So, if I talk to Eddie, it's more just like as a normal conversation, right? I wish I got to work with Eddie more, but
Okay, I'm
yeah.
gonna expand this question. It's interesting. Who do you find like the most fun to work with at RT? Like, between like the animators, voice actors, when you get to work with them, who do you find like the most fun to work with?
That's a good question. Uh, I think my immediate thought is just saying my own team because we were like the goofiest fucking team. Like, none of our meetings were ever quiet, so like my concept team was my favorite. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do the opposite now. Do you want to admit who you dislike working with the most?
No,
I
she
no,
will.
I
isn't...
shit talk them while I'm recording.
She isn't gonna risk her job for that one, Bionic. Like, she won't
I
risk
No,
was
it.
gonna.
no.
I was
So,
gonna. I had a feeling she wasn't gonna answer. I'm still gonna ask it because it is funny.
so
Yeah,
who's...
I mean,
The fact, also the fact with that answer, you definitely have somebody in mind. You definitely.
also one thing to keep in mind though is a lot of the time it isn't like people hate each other. It's just like there's conflicts of interest between
Yeah,
people.
no, I
Like,
wasn't. I
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
was expecting that. I'm a bit of a guy that just straight goes to hate half the time. So but I expect more people don't do that because I'm a bit.
Sana's saying
Yeah,
that
no,
about
it's
her
just
concept team, though. I just had a thought. What if we had her whole concept team and our whole podcast crew doing a massive interview? How
I'm not.
chaotic would that be?
oh, it'd be crazy. I think we joked about in Genlog, like every time this one producer would walk in, all of our conversations would devolve to either furries or Mr. Plinkett, and I don't know why.
That is a good question. Like it's like you don't even know. Like it's just that's what happened.
That's
What
where it always went to.
what was this? What was like? What did this producer have like an aura to him that just
I
radiates?
don't know. I'm calling you out, Brian Lee. Like every time he walked in, we'd be talking about like a furry Mr. Plinkett, and he'd be like, "Why do I walk back here?" and then walk away.
That sounds amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
Oh
getting
my
back to the
god.
questions. That what was it? Majorly different working on Ruby and Genlock. What was like the main differences or challenges between the two?
I would say the two main differences were one, Genlock had different directors, and different directors all have just different styles. So that'd be probably the number one difference because like the style, like it's more detailed than Ruby, obviously, but it's not like so different. You know what I mean?
This
And
is the
also at the
same company.
time, yeah,
You
and
are.
also at the time with Genlock, I didn't actually know 3D that well, so I was doing
Oh.
everything by hand basically, and my director would make fun of me for it. But I did learn 3D eventually, so there's
Uh,
that. And
hey.
yeah, the
So
second difference is the pipeline was a lot different. It was kind of underdeveloped in my opinion, and it was smoothed out a lot more in Ruby 7 and 8.
Was
I
it...
see. Interesting.
Was it difficult switching the genres? Because I know Ruby and Genlock are two different genres. Was that a bit like Whiplash feeling, or was it, easy to settle in switching genres and then going back to Ruby afterwards?
Uh, it was kind of easy for me personally because, like, again, they aren't like super different. I would say like the main difference with Genlock and Ruby as a conceptor is that Genlock has a lot more reflectivity than RWBY, and a lot more detail. So it's basically more just removing, like making more like large details rather than like tiny details.
Well, the
Wasn't too hard.
interesting content is like by the time you went back after watching Genlock, you were like straight into the Atlas arc, so you were still kind of doing a lot
Yeah,
of that like
yeah,
sci-fi
that's
stuff.
also true as well. Yeah.
Like, like, and now Volume 9 is like completely different to how that sci-fi is.
Oh
So
yeah, I know. It was so we were actually so happy. Again, my other spoiler free teaser for Volume 9. I think there were just like hundreds of UI screens we had to make for 7 and 8, and then in 9 there's like barely any, which made us so
I do,
happy.
I do know a friend of mine who also cannot stand working on the hard light screens a lot. So they share your pain.
It's not like I hate it. It's just kind of boring, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same kind of feeling, hard light screen. Like, but the
Yeah.
difference you got it was both artists doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So like that was fun. Okay, so the next, so with most of the main questions done, we will be moving on to the a few more fan questions. So starting with a person that just is going by Joseph21. What is it like? This is a weird one, so I don't know. This is a weird one. I don't think he understood who it was. What was it like animated for RWBY? Is it hard to learn animation with the current program, or in your case, we don't know if you animate or have knowledge on this learning the art? Learn to art with your current programming techniques. I think he doesn't
Yeah.
understand that you weren't an
So
animator.
yeah, I'm not an animator. I would say that like if you're learning standard animation through Maya or Max, it's pretty much probably the same thing. Like cuz RWBY is now animated in Maya, so it shouldn't be that different if you also learned in an Autodesk program. Um I would say the weirdest things with Ruby animation, at least from my knowledge, are like the specific pipeline tools, but a lot of those don't have to do with animating specifically. They have to be doing like how do you import your camera correctly, or how do you make sure your character is in the same position for the next person animating your scene. A lot of those saving tools are different with their proprietary source control program. So, but if you did get a job at Roosterteeth, you would learn that on the job, obviously. So, yeah.
Okay, next question we have from Nino Yeah. I do apologize again for anyone who I butchered the names of. If you had to form, this is a really fun question. If you had to form a basketball team out of characters from RWBY in order to fight the monsters from the movie Space Jam, which two main characters, two side characters, and one background character would you choose and why?
Okay, so I did think about this one. Okay, my two main characters are Yang and Weiss because see if I chose like Yang and Blake or Ruby and Weiss, they'd be protecting each other. So we need two that wouldn't and would just kill them. The two side characters are I would pick Elm and Vine because they're really tall. And one
Yeah,
background character, I'd pick the shopkeep. Yeah, he's the
he's
sacrifice.
he's too.
Oh, you just put Ruby Jesus on that team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, Shopkeep is actually the most powerful creature in this universe, besides only rivaled by Zwei himself.
He's only allowed to use 1% of his power, though.
What is he fucking Shaggy now?
Yeah.
Shopkeep versus Shaggy.
That needs to be the next death battle. That needs to be a death battle, RT. Shaggy versus Shopkeep.
Anybody?
Shopkeep.
God, that would be horrendous. Okay. From the next question is from Far Out. I think
That's Faye.
From Far.
Faye.
Faye. I'm so sorry. From Faye. Out of Arrowfell, Volume 9, and the RWBY Justice League crossover movie, which are you looking forward to the most?
So I'm kind of a main story Andy, so I'm looking forward to 9 the most personally. But there's stuff I like from all of them. So
I think though I remember about what you mentioned the reception from Volume 9 was in comparison to Arrowfell was very different. I remember you mentioned.
Yeah, there is a lot of different hype. Like a lot of people are excited for the game, but then Volume 9's trailer sort of blew that out the water because, you know, we got the teaser and we got a clip as well, and it's just left it as still a mystery with Volume 9. Like, what the hell is going on? Whereas with Arrowfell, we're sort of still in the Atlas arc, but Volume 9's in that sort of we're now in the unknown. So you got two different stories and that, and like with Volume 9 not coming out until next year, we have to just deal with Atlas this year with Arafel. So there's a lot of hype and a lot of mystery and speculation and theories to come for Volume 9 before that releases in 2023, which 2023...
And then you have the Justice League. And then you have the Justice League movie where we just know it's coming out. There is nothing about that besides that.
It's the air of mystery. I like the mystery behind it. Like, when looking back through RWBY and that, is when certain things are sort of either spoiled in the intro or spoiled in the posters, like Cinder being seen in the Volume 6 poster when we thought she had died at the end of Volume 5. I wish they had kept that a mystery. Like, keeping Neo's return and not putting, like, Roman's hat in the intro of Volume 6. Like, I like those sort of things to be kept a mystery and have that bit more surprise factor behind them. So I'm glad we're not going to get anything about Justice League until next year, which is the anniversary year as well. Like, the anniversary for the Red Trailer's coming up this year, and then we got 4 or 5 big anniversaries next year, which is... that is a lot. Because you got the white trailer, the black trailer, and yellow trailer anniversary next year. You got RT's 20-year anniversary and RWBY's 10-year anniversary next year. So there's a lot to come next year. I'll admit, I'm excited. And now knowing that you've worked on the Justice League and that's your final thing, I'm expecting the Justice League concepts and that to be you going out with a bang. If that makes...
Well, thank you. Yeah, there's like, obviously I can't spoil the Justice League, but there's also like a lot of interesting stuff in the Justice League stuff as well.
Don't take anything from the comics. That's all I want to say. Please don't. I beg of you.
Yeah, it's like the comics, like I don't think they make for a great movie because they didn't really have like a central plot per se, but I think they were good fans.
Yeah, but once like the main villain Starro didn't show up until like the ending.
Yeah.
Like, he basically wasn't a factor for how long? And then also everything else just didn't make sense. Half of it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I think it was more for like fan service to see the characters like, oh, here's like Weiss and Batman having a fight. I think that was like more the purpose of it, and that's fine for what it is. But yeah,
the
movie.
I'm hoping the movie doesn't bring the multiverse into it. I'm hoping that the movie doesn't bring the multiverse into it, because that broke my brain in the comics. When the idea of the multiverse was brought into it, that broke me.
Question, what broke you more, the multiverse or Diana entirely?
I would say both broke me equally. I think the thing that you remember me raging the most over was the fact that Fauna's either had 2 traits, 3 traits, or 4 traits instead of 1 trait. Like, I am a canon Andy when it comes to those sort of things. I will get vocal if something doesn't fit in canon. I am the vocal one in this group. Well,
from I believe it's just Bardock.
Yep, Bardock.
If RWBY and Co were a pirate crew in One Piece, what would their respective roles be, aside from RWBY being the captain?
I did think about this too. So first mate would be Weiss, second mate would be Yang, and I would say the doctor would be John, and the ship would be Monster. And the navigator can be Blake, and then I'm out of ideas.
Interesting. Being that I actually do watch One Piece, there is if you're curious about, if we go by the Straw Hat Pirates, you have, of course, Captain, First Mate, Cook, Navigator, Sniper, Archaeologist, Shipwright.
Oh, well, the cook has to be Ren, right? Because he's the only one that can actually cook on the team.
What would there's also Helmsman.
Helmsman that'll be Nora for sure.
Shipwright, who will be in charge of
that can be Oscar.
then the Sniper, which is an interesting choice.
That'll be Crow.
You are running out of people.
Well, if there is a parrot, we can say it's Pyrrha reincarnated.
Yeah.
Fair point. I think the only last one if we go by Straw Hats is just the Archaeologist. Oh yeah, musician. That was the one.
Oh, musician. I guess that can be Weiss too.
A dual role, and then there's Archaeologist.
Who the hell cares about history?
Oobleck.
I'll make the hell. What's
History.
his name? Oobleck. He could be the archaeologist.
Excuse me. History is very important in Piece stories.
I mean,
RWBY
I
though
care
is
about history. Who in RWBY cares about history?
then Oobleck, you answered your own question.
You bringing up Oobleck has just sparked a question in my head. How much of RWBY have you actually seen before you started working with RT and RWBY?
I'd actually seen all of it.
Oh, you were a fan before you joined.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. I mean, I started Roosterteeth with most people, where I was watching like Red vs. Blue season 3 when I was in middle school.
Okay, I'm curious. I have a small thing. So you never got to meet Monty on, right? As you only joined it.
I actually met him once at a
Ooh,
con.
you did.
Yeah.
What was your what did your impression of Monty was when you met him?
Oh, I thought he was nice, but we barely talked at all because I was like in a line for autographs, obviously. So they were just like doing like a conga line, so I barely got to say anything. But I have a signed Red vs. Blue poster that I keep. Yeah,
that is a valuable thing in this community.
I'm sure a lot of people would agree that Monty would be proud of you with the work you've done. I think a lot of people.
Partners, what have you when you've been working for RT, what have you heard about Monty, and like what's your impression of him now after hearing stories about him? I imagine he's mentioned a lot when working on RWBY.
Is it weird to say he's like totally crazy but talented? Would that be fair?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, because like what I hear is like his work is great, but his methods were like kind of off the wall. But in the end, it worked out. Does that make sense?
I like that. That feels really like that. Really does feel like him. What I've heard.
Yeah,
about him.
Obviously I didn't know him personally because I only met him one time, but from the stories, yeah.
I wouldn't be able to have a chance to meet him, so it's nice hearing stories.
Yeah, I mean, like when you hear about like how RWBY was conceived, he's like, I saw it in a dream. And you're like, all right, Monty, but then it was actually like a really good idea, So
dreams can be some bullshit.
Yeah.
But the next question is from Killdozer. Does the Atlesian soldiers taking block formations outside Mantle during the Grim invasion mean Grim act like horses? Napoleonic tactics, in case you're wondering.
I'd say no. The block formations were more to get across clearly that it was a military operation, if that makes sense. It wasn't necessarily like deep research military tactics.
I could feel that. We've had some discussions about this, and from the guy that knows military, it made no sense.
Yeah, it was more just to get the idea across clearly to the layman, like which is often in concept. Like I think one critique of a Genlock concept that I laughed at, but it was right, was that like the Striders, which I think are a great design in Genlock, have a stupid design because you don't want a giant orange windshield that basically says shoot here. But if you didn't have that, then it would be harder to read their design. You know what I mean? So
I don't know much. I haven't really watched Genlock because I really wasn't a fan of it, so I really don't know what that is. Velvet?
Genlock is Genlock with the Striders. Basically, they have like the orange window across the cockpit, so you can see the character through the cockpit window in certain shots when they're used.
Yeah.
You didn't think of doing the method of kind of just going into the cockpit like how Iron Man, they use it in the Marvel movies to get like Downey more screen time. You didn't think of doing it more like that?
They do that, but the point was to have it easily readable. Because, for instance, you have like the orange, the bright orange against like the cool gray, So it's meant to make it pop when you're looking at it in a scene, Whereas like Iron Man kind of has that.
Does every series of mechs have one mech that has mantis legs? Is that just a fact of life? There's always digigrade legs. Why is that always around? I love digigrade legs, but it does seem to be a thing. Just like in every series.
Yes.
The legs. Look nice? Everyone wants to be chicken.
Everyone wants to be chicken.
I mean, it's Roosterteeth.
It's Roosterteeth.
Okay, and the final fan question is one from Wolfmarks. Ever thought of going to Comic-Con in a different state?
Yes, I have. I'm kind of afraid of COVID right now. So when that chills out, Well, like I went to RTX obviously, but it was like smaller, you know. But then I looked at Anime Expo right now, and I got freaked out. And like I'm not like crazy paranoid about COVID, but I'm like normal paranoid about COVID. So, once shit chills, then yes.
Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah,
it will
freaked you out.
be like once COVID's died down, it'd be nice to have, because it's starting to get back into the field with the convention circuit, and you can see it starting to come slowly back. People ain't rushing into it, and obviously with RTX, the precautions were taken, and seeing like the precautions were being taken, people were being safe, people were being looked after. That was the one thing that's like.
I've heard some stories. Some people weren't being the best kind of people during RTX, but
they
not.
weren't. But I didn't actually go to those events by chance. Like there was like one outside event that had like a COVID break, but like I didn't go there.
I'm more talking about some particular people I've heard about not following the.
Oh yeah.
I don't know much about those events. The thing is, I've never been to an RTX. The fact that I haven't even been to America since like I was like fucking 1 or some shit. I don't really travel much, to be honest.
Yeah,
So.
which is
And to be honest, though, I feel like if I did try to go, I'd be goop before I even like set foot in RTX.
Oh yeah, that's one thing my friend was laughing at all the people who are visiting Texas for the first time. They were like, "It sure is hot." I'm like, "Yep, it's very hot."
I do remind you, I don't live in the States, and I live in a country that is very much. I think most people kind of know where I am. I'm Irish, so yeah. What I figured out is what you guys consider like relative normal heat is what I consider very fucking warm. I'm goop
Be right
when I
back.
go to America.
I look at my my thermostat right now. It's 92 Fahrenheit. Hold on, let me do that in normal people.
I don't know. Fahrenheit, the fucking
That's
Celsius.
That's 33 Celsius.
Is 90 what you consider relative normal, or what you consider?
Well, see, I would say normal. God, I don't know. It's like hot in the summer and cold in the winter. We
Like, you
fling
know,
around.
well, that's normal if you're not Australian, because Australia just does everything weirdly.
Yeah.
So it's just like, Australia, yes, I'm definitely smart.
Australia, the land that wants to kill you.
Fact, as I've heard from a person, it's God's bin. Every random idea he comes up with is yeeted in there.
It's kind of true though. Like I learned that there's only like 2, maybe 3 venomous spiders in the United States, and then you look at Australia and it has like 400 million. Like,
ever heard of the Sydney funnel web?
No.
They're a species of wandering spiders, so they have a habit of wandering to people's houses, and yeah, taking residence in people's shoes. Say the least, Sydney funnel web anti-venom is one of the most administrated. It's not the most though. I believe it's stonefish. Stonefish are terrifying.
Stonefish.
Yeah, don't mess with a stonefish. They are creatures of death. They've got venomous spines. Like they camouflage themselves, and they have venomous spines. And if you try to, it's kind of, if you step on them, the spines will keep going up. If you keep trying to step on them, it go worse. And it is the most administered venom besides like black widows, or it's a spider species. I think is the most one.
I
know this shit.
Alive.
Do not question. I have the most random of animal facts. Also, the fact that kiwis are related to like all the big flightless birds, but they. And weirdly though, they have the egg they lay pushes their skeleton and organs around because it's bigger than they am.
No,
they are.
The kiwis.
Yeah, I know. Kiwis are not given a hand in life. And then we talk about the bigger boys, the cassowaries, murder birds.
I'm just realizing that you're giving her.
Or are they different?
You know the big bluebirds?
Yeah.
Yeah, those ones can gut you in a single kick.
Were those the ones that the Australians lost a war
against? That's an emu. Okay. Okay, that story is great, but I'm not going to explain it because I've heard the true story from an actual Australian. So
I like it. I like it better when it's just Australians lost to emus.
Emu.
It's not the most hated. It's not the most hated bird in Australia.
I just like the fact that you've just given her a lot of ideas for future Grim Bionic and you didn't realise it.
Yeah. You expect me not? You think I'm not doing this on purpose? I like animals. I've made Grim of the dumbest shit. I made Grim out of creepypastas. I do fucking anything. I've used dinosaurs. I've used creepypastas. I've used fucking. I've used a fucking bloodborne enemy. I've done shite.
Unlike me, where I take the Yorse meme and make it a grimification.
You did do that. You did do that. Becoming the enemy. Hell of a thing. Chapter 3, though. Chapter 3.
Chapter 3 is best not to read after you've had dinner or something, because that chapter really sends the creepy-jeebies through people.
I am pretty good with reading. I could read every other chapter, but chapter 3.
I'll send it to you, Sana, so you can have a look through. If you're allowed.
Man.
Okay, so I don't know if we that is the last question we asked. So if you have anything interesting you would like to mention, before we finish anything off.
Yeah, because we know we have mentioned you are leaving RT, and you've already got something lined up if I remember correctly. Where are you venturing to for the greener pastures? The next chapter of your journey.
I've actually moved on to Skybound Productions, and I am doing background paintings for Invincible now.
Invincible? You mean the show?
Omni-Man?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah!
Holy! That is
wait. Did you work on season 1? Because I know the season 2 coming out.
No.
Okay, so you're working in season 2. I look forward to see your work. Then.
Thank you.
I fucking adore Invincible. It's so well made.
I thought it was so good, and basically my Roosterteeth contract was ending, and I left shortly before my contract was going to end just to keep steady employment, and yeah.
So we got 2 years left of her with Sana with RWBY, and then Omni-Man to look forward to, Sana being an Omni-Man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You may be able to speak to the legend of J.K. Simmons.
Obviously I didn't work with him, and I remember before I watched Invincible, I was like, that guy sounds like the guy from Spider-Man.
And it is the guy from Spider-Man.
Well, this was my announcement piece for me going to Skybound. If you never saw it.
If you see again, I don't keep up with Twitter a lot. To be honest.
Yeah.
If you see J.K. Simmons, just tap him on the shoulder and send him our way. I'm sure we'd be happy to have him on the channel and have him on the podcast.
Me and him are the bestest buddies. So we play Fortnite all the time.
Anybody on okay. Honest question: Has there been any actor you've wanted to get on RWBY that you can say that is not going to be able to, but have you ever thought an actor you would love to work with on RWBY or something?
Morgan Freeman, for sure.
That is an amazing. That is a good answer.
Yeah.
Morgan fucking Freeman.
Yeah.
That honestly.
I have a particular bias to my boy Johnny Young Bosch, to say the least.
Yeah. That, or if a career voice actor, I would say, is his name? Okay, hold on.
I'm doing the research.
Yeah, hold on. I'm checking to make sure I have the right name. Dan Green. I would love
Dan Green. Interesting. Dan Green. Imagine Dan Green and Jack Black.
I know, looking back at the concept question and that, and it made me remember what Sana brought up when we were doing the audio test and just prepping before the podcast about the swarms. If she's allowed to mention that to the people at home about the swarms, her little fun idea that she had.
And you? Or was that?
It was an idea of a Grim I would wanted to see in the show, but I'm not the writer or anything, so I don't determine what.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are you allowed to elaborate on it like you did with us, or is that?
No, that was just my dumb idea. Sometimes we can pitch dumb ideas, and sometimes they get in, sometimes they don't. That was just an off the wall idea.
Okay,
can we have a swarm, Grim?
If you would think on it, what kind of creature would you choose to be swarmed? Would you pick a bug, or would you pick a more mythological creature or something completely?
Oh, I want them to be tiny. I'd want like a silverfish or something.
Isn't the silverfish based on them? Isn't the silverfish based on them?
Yes, they are, but this was before we had the silverfish.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I wanted it to be they were in a submarine or something, and then suddenly the Grim crawl in through the cracks, which
If
would
you want-
obviously be horror.
If you wanted the interest in a sea creature, there's the cookie cutter shark, which was a shark that almost caused a war because they're too stupid to register that they're biting on a fucking submarine and not another creature. That would be terrifying as a grim.
Yeah.
Okay, be honest. The sea has a million choices. Like half the species you could be terrifying grim because the ocean doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
The ocean doesn't give a single.
I actually kind of think like designing off sea creatures. Like I don't know if many people my age had this nightmare, but the fucking that like saw shark from James and the Giant Peach gave me nightmares for like ever. Like
I think most people just get nightmares from that movie in general. Like,
yeah,
just movie in general.
it's weird. Like that particular part just sticks with me. I don't know. I'd like a grim like that. That's
saw
literally
shark.
just like a grim blender that you go in and you're just meat.
Like Whispering Deaths from How to Train Your Dragon. Those rotated mouths.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be an interesting. Rotated mouths seem to be a popular thing for creatures. I just know the Whispering Death particularly. I have okay. Honestly, so to start with, what was your opinion on the other two candidates for that contest that was going? The Plague Doctor looking one and the Wendigo. What was your opinion on those two?
Oh
wait, and also wait.
And
also the goat. Also that goat creature. Apologies, I forgot the goat one. I'm sorry.
I decently like them all, but I'll admit the sulfurfish was the most colorful, so that's the one I gravitated towards the most.
So you're happy about that, yeah?
Yeah, that sulfurfish was the one I actually wanted to win, but like I thought the others were like good as well. So it's not like God, I hate this one. It's more like I want this one to win because it's my favorite.
I do like me more Buggy Boys, and I do.
Yeah.
Look
Also,
the
concept was kind of cute. Like they had like this little picture of Ruby being jumped on by two of them, and I thought that was funny looking. Like that was just my favorite.
It's a bit disappointing they weren't able to be used that basically at all in volume 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's because like when the contest ended, obviously we didn't have that much time to like get it rigged up, and like pretty much that last scene was like the last scene with Grimm by the time it was made. But it'll be
also the
later.
fact that you brought back the apathy and they did nothing.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll come back later because I mean the asset's complete now, so any other scene with Grimm can now have the sulfurfish. So
I just want my big.
I mean, speaking on Grimm, we know we got like the new Grimm coming into Arafel, the one that's based on the Harpy and one that looks like it's based on a goblin. Did you have any involvement with Arafel's concepts?
I did. I designed the environments for the cutscenes Roosterteeth made, and I did some of the props in those cutscenes, and then obviously the style was different before, and the game adjusted, and so when I saw the preview at RTX, I was like, "Oh, that's the environment I designed. That's cool." So
it is indeed cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we have much else to really talk about.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything. We've covered all the fan questions, which, honestly, I'm happy about. We covered the fan questions. We've covered a lot of interesting, fun facts in that, and Sana has been an amazing. Yeah, I messed up. That's gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go back, find that moment, and put what I asked. I'm gonna have to remember what I asked and put that just in text. There, I completely forgot. Like I had to dip because my stomach wasn't feeling too good. I muted in OBS
You explained already. But it has been honestly a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. I had fun too.
Hope to have you back on again at some point in the future. Like, you know, after Volume 9 has started to come out, we can get you on here and drag you in about.
I can finally like talk about everything because I want to talk about it. I just can't.
Yeah, as soon as Volume 9 has aired, I'm kidnapping you and bringing you in here for interrogation. You are going to get interrogated after Volume 9, guaranteed. And the same with the Justice League movie.
Out of all the writers of RWBY, who do you fear the most? Like, if you started spoiling some stuff, who would you fear coming after you the most?
See, I don't think the writers would come after me. I think it would be the producers. I think they're the ones watching. I fear you. Who do I want to name?
Who do you want to throw under the bus?
Joe.
Joe.
I fear you, Joe.
Joe.
producer, or you just make up a name.
Yeah, oh no, he's one of the heads of animation.
Okay. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Joe. Not talking about anything illegal here. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, I did say I want to punt a child into the stratosphere, so I don't know if that would be considered illegal. That does not mention anything illegal. I did.
There was actually one time there was like a meeting we were starting, and like beforehand everyone's always loud in a meeting before the meeting officially starts, and there was like this like meowing sound, and I was like, "Oh, someone has a cat," and Joe went, "Oh no, that's my kid." And I was like, "Oh, hi, Joe's child."
Well done.
Oh my god. But yeah, honestly, I will honestly say in future we will get you back on, because this has been chaos, but it has been fun chaos. It's been organized chaos. I really do want to thank you for coming on though, and like, having fun with us and answering the questions and trying to dodge bullets and not get yourself shot. It's similar to when we've had Myers on. He's trying to avoid things to not get shot. So we kind of expect that. But in the future, we're going to definitely bring you back on.
We want to blab. Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to blab when it's out. We said we will when it's out. Just can't for now.
Just have to be patient, guys. We will get her back on, and we get her on for after Volume 9 and after the Justice League movie as well, because those are two things that we can pick her brain on. So don't worry about that. And that's pretty much it. We are also... This was going to be time that was going to announce this, but I have to do it. So...
Let me do it. Let me do it.
You want to do it? Go for it then, old boy.
Yeah, so for everyone who enjoys listening to our ramblings, to say least, we are now on Spotify. We've been on Spotify for a while now. So if anyone would like to go follow us on there, the link will be in the description of this podcast, to say the least. So,
yes,
or
indeed.
you could, again, if you do prefer just watching the videos, you can still stick to Nuna. We will be, Velvet will be uploading both of them on both of them at, obviously video first, then Spotify, how it's going to be laid out.
Yeah.
So, for people that enjoy that.
Yeah, so that's pretty much everything for today. Thank you to everyone that sent in their fan questions and that. I hope you've enjoyed this chaotic interview with Santa Freeman, and I hope you guys honestly have a good day wherever you are in the world. Catch you later, guys.
Also, stop being impatient. Stop being impatient. Volume 9 will release when it releases. Shush, all of you.
No impatience.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.